ended up at almost 100 weddings booked before we finished construction.
They're booked 80% of the time. We know what the rate is. We'll find some vendors. How hard could it be?
Easy peasy. We'll do 77 weddings this year, so we'll do over $1 million this year.
Dude, you're blowing my mind. So the coffee shop's $2 million top line. The wedding venue, a little bit over $1 million top line. How big is your wife's baby boutique business?
We actually don't have our SBA loan anymore either.
What are the best pieces of advice that you would give to somebody who's getting started? What is the best way to start in their market? Alex Nelson, the wedding venue guy. I am so glad to have you back. You're one of my first guests. And the conversation that we had was amazing. We talked about, obviously, you launching your wedding venue in the middle of Iowa and it doing exceptionally well. You had no experience in it. But since that time, you have not only had the wedding venue that's done really well, sounds like you've opened up a smattering of businesses. You bought some coffee shops. I know you sold a course at one point. Your wife has opened like a baby boutique. You're potentially looking at opening another venue. You're a mogul now. I think you've graduated from entrepreneur to mogul. Would you agree?
No, definitely not. We've done a lot since and definitely have learned a lot. So
I think people are really interested in the wedding venue. And this is one of my first episodes. So if you want to go listen to the whole thing, you can go back. I'll have to actually look at the episode and put it in the show notes, but you can go listen to the whole thing. But I want you to just walk through like, what is a wedding venue first, and then sort of the economics of it. So how did you hear about wedding venues? How did you get into the space?
Yeah, so my wife and I, we were pretty much customers or clients, before, and that's essentially how we figured it out. I mean, it was definitely not like top of mind for me, but for my wife, definitely. We had been together since like high school, and then we were together all through college. So like after college, we knew we were going to get engaged pretty quick and probably married soon after that. So we like ended up touring and looking at these venues like before we even got engaged. Like we got our parents involved and stuff, and it was like a whole thing. We ended up booking a venue before we were engaged. I mean, didn't really tell anybody, and then we got like engaged soon after, which might sound crazy, but that honestly happens all the time at our venue now. So that was kind of like light bulb moment there. Is like that's how we really learned like what these wedding venues were. Of course, like I'd been to weddings and whatnot, but like they could be at hotels, they could be wherever. This is like we were wearing like the true like standalone like wedding venues. And I would say they're rather new-ish industry still, like 10, 15 years probably, like standalone venues. Like basically people used to get married in a church and then you just go to any sort of reception hall, hotel, event hall, whatever. And then it kind of like evolved to like people getting married in church less and less. So like they're trying to find more creative places to do the ceremony. And then like these barn venues started popping up where you could do the ceremony, reception, everything all kind of in one. And that's just really like evolved from there.
You weren't technically engaged yet, but you went and found a wedding venue. You booked it yourselves. That was your first experience. How long was the wait? So between booking it and your wedding date, how much time was there? 6 months?
No, like a year and a half, maybe more.
Holy balls. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Was that normal? Did you pick a year and a half because you're like, oh no, it needs to be a year and a half? Or were they like, sorry, we don't have any openings for a year and a half?
No, we picked it. And like I said, she was going to be a teacher, so she wanted to get married during the summer.
Okay.
She was off. But like, yeah, there's none like the next summer. Like you had to wait to the next year, which is pretty typical.
And how much was it for you to book that wedding venue?
I want to say 7,000 or so just for the venue, not including like alcohol, decor, catering, none of that, like just straight up.
And did you put that $7,000 down then or when?
Usually be like 50% down and then 50% like a little closer to date, 3-6 months out, whatever.
Okay. All right. So you book it a year and a half out. At what point were you like, this wedding venue and business is pretty interesting? Was it right then or was it a couple years lag in between?
No, pretty much right then. We toured like one venue. My father-in-law had been like in construction world a little bit. So he's looking around at the building, and being like, I could do this, I could build this kind of thing, Yeah, let's do it. Like, it's one of those businesses. It's so easy. You look at the calendar, you see how booked up they are, you know what they're charging. So you can do quick math on what they're making and, assume it's super easy. And we were one of those people that thought that. Definitely not that easy, or not as easy as that, I should say.
Yeah, I always say those are the words that get every entrepreneur into trouble. How hard could it be?
Yeah, basically. How hard?
I mean, how hard could it be?
Yeah.
It's 365 days. They're booked 80% of the time. We know what the rate is. Okay, we put a little putting green together. We'll find some vendors. How hard could it be?
Easy peasy.
And then 6 months in, you're like, oh, F me. This is way harder than I thought it was going to be.
Like 14 weddings back to back every Friday, Saturday with a 1-year-old, back at home, 18-hour days. Yeah, you might start to reconsider what did we do?
You started planning this with your future father-in-law before you were even married. You were like, I think we could buy a venue. I think we could do X, Y, and Z. And remind me again, what was your experience at the time?
So we're definitely my wife, my father-in-law, like we're all like thinking about talking about it pretty much at that point. It was a couple years later before we got super serious. My experience at that point, just graduated college. So like I was like getting like my
Mhm.
first job out of college, and I had a couple that were crap. But eventually I kind of fell into a couple of different like finance roles. And I also did like inside sales, like help with like online leads for like a real estate brokerage. I ended up getting like 2 like remote like full-time jobs pretty much. And that's kind of how
One of those
I,
people.
I double dipped for a hot second. And that's really like how we saved up like enough cash. Like my wife was teaching, not a great huge salary, but I mean we live in Iowa, we're living cheap. We lived in college for like the next 2-3 years. And then once I had like we basically had 3 salaries for a minute.
I think it's interesting because there's a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of people who have an idea and they're like, man, I really want to start virtual golf, whatever spot, or I really want to start a tree trimming business, or I really want to start a wedding venue. And they've got that in their head. And lots of times it's like for a couple of years and they've thought through everything. They've thought through the business plan and like how much would it cost? And well, how much money could I generate and where would I actually go and buy and who could I go? So it's like they've been thinking about it for a long time, but there's always kind of a moment where it's, what's the saying? Crap or get off the pot.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, put up or shut up.
Yeah.
What was that for you? Like you've been obviously thinking about it. You guys have been talking about it. What was the moment where you were like, I got to do this?
It was like mid COVID, when we had a lot of time at home, we're talking, thinking. My wife was like teaching, like I said, and COVID was pretty much hell for them. And she was just like ultra stressed out. She would go in, and I had those 2 full-time jobs. She was literally going in early, staying late, come home and do stuff. Like she's working more than I did with 2 full-time jobs. And just like, what are we doing here?
Jeez, dude.
But she liked it, but then she got stressed and was like, do you really want to do this for the next 30 years? Sort of thing. So then she always loved weddings. So she's talking about like wedding planning. And that's kind of like when we circled back to the wedding venue, like we had been saving up some cash. I always thought like I'd get into like real estate. I thought I was, smart in that area. Not necessarily, but I wanted to do something like that. I want to do something on my own too. So this was like a cool thing for us to both do.
But it's still scary. Like, what was the moment where you're like, oh, we have enough money. I have some experience. Like, I think this is like, was there a moment or was it, it's fine if there wasn't a moment. I'm just curious what finally got you pushed over the edge?
I kind of knew that like going in, I was like, if we're going to do this, like we just need to like actually do it and we need to be super serious about it. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be one of those people that like, sit on it for a couple of years. Cause then it's not going to happen.
Okay.
Life's going to happen, like we hadn't had kids yet. So it was like, I just felt like it was now or never, which it probably necessarily wasn't. But so I definitely like drove it. We did like pay some, like a consultant in the space, like $5,000. And it was like, if we're going to like spend this kind of money, like we better be serious. So I think like spending money towards like something in that, to get started, like forced us to really get going. I told you like we had like talked with my father-in-law like quite a bit about like the idea and stuff. And like we told him we're going to like pay these guys like who had built the venue before, like $5,000 to help us get started. And he thought it was the dumbest thing in the world, which
looking
it is really.
So wait, why did you say it was dumb?
We were like bickering and fighting. It's like, well, we're the ones that are going to do it. Like, we're the ones who are going to spend the money. So like, whatever.
Did he say it was dumb? Cause it was like, hey, don't buy a course. What do you need to learn from somebody else?
Basically, it was just like, all you need to do is like this, and this. Like, it's not that hard. Like, go figure out how many people you want to hold, call the county, see how many parking spots you need, like being probably more logical, but we're just like,
was it dumb? Hold on. No.
Like,
looking back, was it dumb? Do you regret paying people who had done it before?
No, because we did learn a little bit, even though like we didn't like, we could have did like multiple stages with them and like kept going with them. They would like helped us from like start to finish. Really, they kind of just helped us like with some like financial models, getting started, like base, like square footage needs, things like that, design, like super high level design, things like that. But it forced us to get started, forced us to spend money and get serious about it. And then like we did get some like baseline knowledge from it that we used, and I've used and taught others that similar. So definitely don't regret it. But like in theory, we didn't need them. Like we ended up figuring out our own.
Basically anything with real estate attached to it can be capital intensive because you're not only launching a business, which is the services side of things, but you also have real estate. So there's CapEx. You've got to actually take care of this thing, etc. But because of that, you need to have more cash when you get started. and you built this venue from the ground up. So you got to talk to an architect, you got to get general contractor, you got to get subs, all of those things. Did you put a dollar amount before you launched where you're like, all right, if we're going to do this, we got to have like 200 grand to get the construction loan to do all these things? Or did you just think, yeah, when we're ready, we'll just go get a loan from a bank? Did you understand?
No, so like I said, I was kind of from like finance world. Like I read a lot and try to teach myself a lot about like real estate, things like that. So I understood like what was needed on that side. Around that time is like when I did learn about like SBA loans. So that was kind of like the mindset flip of like maybe one day we'll do this versus like, okay, maybe like if we can build this thing for like 1.5 and I can get like an SBA 7A loan for like 10% down, all I need is 150K cash. And we were like on our way. Like we're like, I could, do our monthly budget and, tell you when we were going to like save that. I had this huge spreadsheet kind of thing. So that kind of gave us the confidence.
So 10% cash was $150,000. You knew the 150 was kind of the number.
Yeah. And we thought we could build it for 1.5. Ended up being almost double that. But that gave us the false confidence to actually go after it and really start spending a lot of money towards things.
When you went to the SBA, did you say, this is the business plan, fund the business, or did they give you a construction loan? Was it a combination of the two? I've never done that with the SBA with the real estate and the business attached to it. So I'm curious what that process looked like.
Yeah, no. So you had, here's business plan. Like we ended up getting like the land under contract, but like earnest money down. We had already started on like some building plans and like architectural plans. Like, so we started throwing money at that, like down payments towards the builder. So like we had all that like lined up, and then we like
before you even had financing.
We were like, I was going back and forth with them. Like, of course, I had like a business plan, like a pro forma, those kind of things. Send them over personal info, all that stuff. But like, we hadn't had it like locked and loaded. I guess I just assumed we were gonna get it. I don't really know, but and even then, like, you get like a commitment letter kind of thing from them, and I thought that was like, we're approved, but
yeah,
not necessarily.
Like, what do you mean committee? It has to go through a committee? Yeah. Underwriting? I've never heard of those words.
Yeah, so that's like a whole nother story too, because then the project got delayed because of COVID, and we're buying from like this developer. It was a whole thing, and then by the time it got delayed, prices went crazy, and like every time we went and got like new bids from like subs and stuff, they'd go up, insane amounts. So that's like, I think our first realistic budget was like 2.1 or 2, and we ended at like more like 2.7. So,
wow. When you're doing it with the SBA, you're presenting a business plan and construction plan. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're like running two things concurrently with them. So you were not only developing the business case of like, no. This is how much demand there is in this area of Iowa. These are other comps. This is how much they charge. I'm assuming you did all of those like competitive analysis for the business, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then for the construction, that's why you were going out to architects, GCs, you had to buy the land, all of those things, so that you could go to the bank and say, all right, and this is the plan we have for the construction and how much it will cost. Did you buy the land first and then go to the SBA, or was it just under contract and then you went to the SBA? Like what did the mechanics of that process look like?
Yeah, so we got under contract and then we did not buy it. Like we were able to like one big loan, like everything for the land, the whole building, and then all your like FF&E too. It's like furniture, fixtures, and equipment, all basically wrapped into one big one. That's the cool part about like SBA 7A. You can do all that real estate attached. You can do like a 25-year AM versus like 10-year for like normal businesses. Then there is like the SBA 504, which is just real estate.
Wow.
But more 15% down, but you wouldn't be able to tack on like your furniture, fixtures, and equipment, which we had like a couple $100,000 worth of stuff like that. So
did you do the 7A or the 504A?
We did 7A. So
typically an SBA loan is going to be a 10-year amortization period. And what that means is the interest plus the principal, they're going to amortize that over time. So for example, like my first business, I want to say we had a $2 million loan from the SBA and our monthly payment was about $25,000 a month. But that was a 10-year amortization period. If we had it over 25 years, if there's real estate attached to it, our monthly payment would have gone from 25, probably, I'd have to do the math, but I'd probably cut in half, probably $12,000 a month, let's call it, potentially even more. Somebody in the comments will be like, actually, if you look at it, it's way, whatever. I don't know what the number is, but it's way less. So that's the advantage of having real estate attached to it, is because you have that physical asset, you can amortize it over a longer period of time. Does it change the term of the loan? Is the loan 25 years as well, or is it still 10?
No, it's 25.
Oh, okay. So the amortization and the term of the loan are 25 years. Do you start making payments right away, or is there like this deferral period because they know you're building and they're like, all right, in year 2, you got to start making payments?
Yeah, deferral interest like still occurs, of course, but you basically
Okay.
like that's like a line item in your loan is like the interest that's gonna like be building up in that time while you're doing construction. We had
Mm,
like a 9-month build or so projected, and then they gave you like an 4 or 5 months even after that. So we didn't basically no payments for like 13 months or so, but we finished in like 7 or 8 months.
that's awesome.
Feels like a nice little buffer in there. I mean, you can even throw a working cap in there. Yeah, the 7A you can really do anything and everything, but comes with the price tag as well. So
Did the money hit your bank and then you managed everything, or was it like they gave it in?
yeah, it was like basically kind of like getting a true construction loan from anywhere else. Like it goes like towards the contractors, and like it's basically slowly pulled down like in a draw. And there's like contingency funds in there and things too.
So does the bank make the payments, or like how does it work?
Our builder honestly had to deal with more of that side because like he was the one like getting paid and then paying the subs.
Did you have to like submit everything through the bank and then the bank and the subs handled that process, or like administratively, what were you doing with the bank in particular during that time?
Basically just like facilitating the convos between builder and loan, whoever they assign, not a loan officer, but they like assign someone basically to the loan that deals specifically with like construction loans and going and checking up on
Mm.
progress and things like that. So
Yeah, because my SBA loan, like part of the reason I loved it is because like there were no covenants. I shouldn't say there were no covenants. There are covenants, but it's not like I was meeting quarterly with my banker to be like, what does your balance sheet look like? And what are your accounts receivable? And what's your cash conversion? That wasn't the case. I think we submitted something once a year. Like we still had to submit things, but it wasn't anything crazy. But I'm assuming with the construction loan, there's a lot more coordination and conversation going on.
yeah,
So in order to do the construction loan, basically, I just want to recap: business plan, construction plan, both presented to the bank at the same time, and they look at it as one whole package and approve or deny. The cap on that is still $5 million. Like it's still a typical SBA loan.
I believe so. Yeah,
And there's no refinance. It's not like, yeah, in year 3, we're going to refinance. And
you can.
with the SBA, I'm saying.
I think you can still do a refi with an.
Well, I know anybody can refinance. I just was wondering if there was a process,
No,
particularly
like
with SBA.
balloon, like and then like need to
Okay.
refinance or anything like that. No.
You originally budget 1.5, you end up doing 2.8 in total cost. And so that's a big swing. It's probably the difference between like, I don't know, I'm just going off the top of my head, $15,000 a month in a debt payment up to probably $30,000 a month. So it's like double the debt payment. Was that scary? Like, because I mean, you kind of underwrote the deal on one thing and then obviously it became a lot more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, so the whole story there too is pretty wild. So we actually don't have our SBA loan anymore either. Yeah, so like mid during the craziness, prices kept going way up. We were working with this builder, and he actually had left his company to start his own company and became our JC, and we became like really good friends with him like during that time. And then like that whole construction process of all that and stuff was pretty much hell getting going with the SBA and stuff. We ended up actually going to a local credit union. He helped us go to, like, we wouldn't have been able to get like approved. He was able to on his side, and we basically partnered on the real estate side of the business. They got us out of the SBA loan. We locked in like a 3.25% or something on the venue side, and we just did like a lease to like purchase like on that side with him. So it got us out of this like crazy
Wait, at least to purchase with who? The bank?
The builder.
Hey, I don't know if you remember this, but when we started this podcast, we entered into a social contract. I would spend time, energy, and money producing this podcast, interviewing these individuals, and giving you insights into how to build, buy, start, grow your business. And you would like, subscribe, and leave me 5-star review. Now, out of that, we both get to talk to really cool people and hear really cool insights. We both get a ton of value. But I just want to help you keep your word. So would you do me a favor? Will you go leave a 5-star review for me on Apple or Spotify? It would really help. And if you want, even share this with a friend.
Our builder.
Oh, the builder. Oh, okay.
On the real estate side, that helped us like actually make it work, because this was going to be his like first huge project too, and he really didn't want to fall apart. And then like prices kept going up on us, and like we were also like nervous to like the SBA wanted like 300K in like contingency funds and blah blah. So whole crazy side story there.
Oh,
But yeah.
okay.
I
Okay.
just feel bad. Like, also, a lot of that only happened and like we could only make it work because we started taking bookings like well before we had even started construction. So we were supposed to have started in
Oh,
like July of 2021, I think it was. We didn't end up actually getting able to like truly break ground and start until like April of 2022
oh
because
my
like
gosh, dude.
this development that we were buying like a chunk, like a couple acres in this like bigger development, but the bigger development couldn't get like its final plat approval from the county because this like piece for the water lift station was delayed because of COVID.
Can I translate this for people? You were taking deposits. You were taking deposits from people who wanted to get married, telling them they were going to get married at a certain date,
Yes.
banking on the fact that the construction was going to start. So it was good from a cash flow standpoint because all of a sudden you had some cash coming in that you could apply to some of these costs. But you probably got really stressed really quick because you were like, F me, construction is going long. I don't think we're going to be able to host these people's weddings.
Yeah, no. The most stressful thing, we mostly did it because we were young and dumb. Like we didn't know. Like we thought it was going to happen. Like we thought we were good. Like, people are saying like 7-month build time. So we're like, okay, it's July
Okay.
now. We'll give ourselves, a year. We'll say it's going to be done in July of 22, 4 or 5 month buffer, we're like, that should be fine. That's cool. That's good.
Dude, no.
Oh,
We'll be conservative. People say it's 7 months.
Yeah.
We'll give it 12.
Yeah, we'll give it 12.
You know what? We're going to be conservative.
That's what we thought, and we're like, we'll make
This
it
is so
work.
funny.
We'll go in there and do shit ourselves if we have to. And it's just like, we couldn't even get started for
Oh my gosh.
I don't know,
Oh my gosh.
9 months later. Yeah. So like we were taking these bookings, everything was going great. Like we were crushing. We had some really cool renderings. We'd meet with people at the coffee shops instead of doing like a tour or something, show them all this stuff. I don't know at that time what we were at, but we ended up at almost 100 weddings booked before we finished construction, like before we like officially opened. And that's even with basically December of that year, December 2022, we're like, all right, like we're supposed to be done next July. We couldn't even we really wanted to be able to like get started and get like our footings and concrete done before winter started. And we could have maybe made that July deadline. But once we missed that, we're like, all right, like we got to tell these people before.
Did you refund? I forget. Did you refund?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's 14 weddings that we had to go to and tell them like, hey, we're not going to be done in time. Like, super sorry. Like this is all.
And remind me, 100 weddings at what was the price point? Like what did they deposited?
Anywhere between 6 to 8, maybe. I think at that time we were charging. So 50% down. So, $3,000-$4,000 deposit.
So you had like $300,000 to $400,000 in deposits. Oh my gosh. And it was at this point that you thought, oh, this is how Ponzi schemes happen.
I was trying not to think of that because I didn't want to be one of those. But yes,
I've been there.
Like, this is definitely how Ponzi schemes happen.
No, man, I've been there before. Like we had this perfume vending business that Chris and I launched, and it was like, these people want perfume vending machines. This is great. And they're giving us deposits and we were placing orders. And then the orders kept getting delayed. And then people started requesting refunds. And it was like, oh, this is how Ponzi schemes start. And not in the bad sense of it, but you're just like, we didn't do anything that nefarious to start out, but it's just the reality of business. It's like, I got to refund these people. What do I do with working capital? We've already spent it on some of this inventory or construction. And
you can see how things
then it's like
spiral. Like if you're like in this downward spiral and you just start reaching and it gets worse and worse and worse.
Was there ever a moment that you were like, I don't know if this is going to work?
Mm-hmm. But I really tried to not let that show because my wife was like freaking out, and like I tried to be like, make it happen, like it's fine, but like inside I was dying pretty much. Yeah, absolute hell.
Jeez.
Right before Christmas, and just like bleh, it was like the worst time.
Oh my gosh.
And that was
my gosh.
Yeah, that would have been our first, like we just had our first kid in like the October, and that was like our first Christmas with him, and
oh my gosh. Stressful. Okay, so you launch year one. What did you project to do in year one, and what did you actually do in year one?
I can't remember like revenue wise what we projected, but like weddings, we thought if we could get to like 50 or so, we would be good. I think our first year we did like 67. First full year. We opened in October of 2022. We did 14 before the end of the year that year. And then 2023, we did 67, I believe.
Wow. Okay, so better than you thought.
Yes.
What about bottom line from those 67? Like, what was
Bottom
net income?
line,
Did you take anything home?
we didn't. Yeah, we tried not to like really pull anything from the business and weren't necessarily paying ourselves a salary at that point. But that first year, bottom line, not like if you take out like the building and lease back, basically like 200K maybe. Probably not as high as we originally like thought. It's way easier to make a spreadsheet and be this and this, but it's like getting started. Like we really think it's still a startup business too. Like there's a lot of capex too with the building. Like even though we built brand new and like landscaping has been hell for like the last 3 years trying to get that going because since we started from scratch and like it's never as pretty as it seems. But
I'm sure everything was just going back into the property itself. What was year 2? Okay, so year 1, I'm going to say 67 weddings, $8,000 a pop. It's a little over $500,000 in top line revenue. What was year 2?
Yeah, so we do bar and stuff too. So I think year 1 revenue full year was like almost 800K, 790 maybe.
2023, 790. All right. 2024.
2024 was 850 top line. I think we actually did less weddings. 2024 for a lot of venues was kind of like a down year because COVID built up such a big demand and then it went down. We spiked back up in 2025. So yeah, 850 or so top line. And then 2025, we'll do 77 weddings this year. So pretty big jump from like our 67, 68 range we were in before. And we'll do over $1 million this year. So
are you surprised at that you're doing over $1 million this year? Or was this where you projected it would be? How does it match?
Definitely maybe a little surprised. We've added like a couple like revenue streams that we weren't like necessarily predicting, like from coordinations, being able to charge a little more on the bar, like a couple little extra add-on things, some kickbacks from vendors, things like that. Yeah, I thought our max would be 70-ish weddings. So like this year we have 77. 2026 we already have 73 booked, like 20 for 2027. So definitely probably cranking out more weddings than I thought was possible, which is great.
Were you in software sales? I can't remember what kind of sales you were in.
No, I did like inside sales for like a realty brokerage and like finance work for like a startup.
There's this concept in software sales called land and expand. So basically you land a client, you solve one problem that they have, and then you expand into adjacent areas. So Slack might be an example, right? You land because they just want an internal messaging solution. But then from there, you start expanding and maybe Slack can function as a CRM and maybe it functions as a customer service help, after hours piece, and maybe it functions as an education tool. Like you just kind of start expanding and then you start selling into those different verticals, but you got to get your foot in the door first. And I feel that way about entrepreneurship. I think that many times you just get into entrepreneurship. The first couple of years are head down. You're trying to figure it out. Is this a real business? How does it work? Et cetera. But then you start to figure it out. You pick your head up and it's just like, all of a sudden other opportunities start coming your way that you didn't even think about. And it feels like you're in that space, that moment right now. Do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like that's kind of where you are?
Yeah, definitely. Especially in like the wedding venue specific, it can very much be like that. Like we're just the building pretty much. We do rental, like we rent the building and then we do alcohol. Like it's very, you can definitely add on like decor rental, have coordinators.
Right.
You could get into catering. Like you could do basically, every aspect. You can partner with photographers, partners with DJs, whatever it may be. And that's like something I got like a lot on like Twitter or all this other, everyone sees all that and like it'd be so easy to do all this. And you still got to look.
Yeah, you knew that was an opportunity.
Yeah, you basically still got to look at those as like they are different businesses though. So like be careful that doing that out the gate would have been a mistake. Now that we're like settled, have a good team to do like our core competency, now we can actually expand into that stuff. Now we can go and, if we get another venue, it just becomes more, but you start to scale essentially, like those things also.
Well, those things make sense to me that you're talking about. Maybe, wedding planning, coordination, the DJ, the bar, all that stuff. What doesn't make sense. What I'm curious about is you launched this coffee brand and you bought several locations, right? Don't you have like 5 coffee shops now?
Yeah. We did.
That's not weddings, bro.
That's not weddings.
Where did that come from?
That came from probably getting a little antsy on wanting to do the next thing. So we built a venue that went well. We started building up like a team. I had actually tried to like keep one of my jobs for like as long as I possibly can. Like, and my wife kind of took the lead, which was good because then we were forced to hire like good managers and built a good team there, blah, blah, blah. So then, I was really just kind of looking for like what's next. I wanted to do another venue, but interest rates had gone way up. I didn't want to necessarily build another one right next door to us. So then we're talking about maybe a different state. And then I was looking at like traveling all the time, building up this big management company. So, and blah, blah. We're just like, is that really what we want to do? We have one kid, another one on the way. Probably not. So we kind of toned down that idea, and then I thought I'm only probably going to have one venue then. So I was like, I kind of started to exnate that idea out in my head. And then I was looking, everyone's buying a business on Twitter, right? So I was looking for businesses for sale. Saw these, there's like 4 independently owned like coffee shops, all in the same name, not a franchise or anything, for sale. And one was like actually like right next to our house. And that one was like the one we used as our office when we were building the venue.
Really?
Yeah. So we would always meet like our couples there when we were talking about doing those like, like virtual tours essentially with them. We would show them renderings and do all this stuff. So, and then we're kind of in the hospitality space. Like this kind of makes sense. Now we can maybe just have more like local businesses and we won't have to be traveling.
Yeah, you talked yourself into it.
Have our family here kind of thing. Yeah, we kind of talked ourselves into it. So, so we did that. We bought them. We remodeled almost every shop. We've rebranded, changed the name. We pretty much changed everything about it. So it's like, what did we buy? But like, we did buy like.
Well, how big was it? Like, how much revenue was it doing?
$1 million, maybe $1.2 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has that integrated? So when did you close on that? Sorry, let me ask that first. When did you close on that business?
We closed August of 2024. So
so over a year.
Over a year
at this point. How was that integration? Was it what you thought it would be? Because you went from starting a business from scratch to buying a business. What I'm assuming you had to did you go through the SBA or no?
Yeah, we did for that one. So we got an SBA loan there. It's different. It is definitely a lot easier in a lot of ways to buy a business. And, coming in was maybe a little more challenging than we thought. But now looking back, like I never would have wanted to like start these 4 from from scratch or anything. And we did have like a little bit of scale, like having 4 shops, and I could like put someone over top and managing all 4 versus me like, being back behind there grinding it out. Like if you did like one and then try to open another, that sort of thing. So easier in that way. I would say like we've went through like every piece of the business and probably changed it, from exploring, every new vendor, like all the softwares they were using, all these things to make it more efficient, which is good. It's forced us like really, really learn the business and really quick. When we originally bought it, there was even like employees that like saw my Twitter and like saw me talking about the venue and then, buying this business and stuff like that. And I definitely would say they probably looked down upon me negatively a little bit.
You went from one location doing $1 million a year, basically, to 5 locations combined doing $1 million a year. Do you regret that? Are you excited about that? Because like it's one thing to manage one physical location that's doing $1 million, but then you got 5 physical locations that are all doing like $200,000 a piece. How has that been?
Yeah, so we should do about 2 mil this year now with the 5 locations. We originally bought 4 and we added on the 5th recently, actually in August. So that's good. We definitely like got it rocking and rolling now. But yeah, managing basically 6 physical locations, actually 7 if you count my wife's baby boutique, but it's definitely a challenge. We hired like my father-in-law like full-time to be like full-time maintenance, like between like all of them, which is a big help. It's just like different. It's, wedding is like big day, high stress, high ticket, and that's why you pull that. And it's not busy every single day, during the weeks busy, like they're doing tours, contracts, that kind of stuff, but it's not like been open, like the coffee shops are open 7 days a week, which can be stressful at times. Thankfully, I have like some really good managers.
I'll ask it a different way. I look at that and I'm like, okay, one location, $1 million top line, probably doing somewhere in the ballpark of $400,000 bottom line. Tell me, am I way off?
Nope.
Okay, cool. Then I go to 5 locations, and let's say they're doing $2 million this year in top line revenue. They're probably doing about the same amount, $400,000 in bottom line, or am I way off?
Less, but 10, 50%.
Yeah. So like that's my point is like why not just stay in the wedding venue business and do, a new wedding venue all the time? Like the coffee shops seem like a harder business. How do you feel about, like, do you regret doing it, or now that you've done it, are you like, oh, I want to go more all in on the coffee shop experiential business, not the wedding venue experiential?
Yeah, I just think they're different, and in our head is like, why can't we do both kind of thing versus like
Sure.
one or the other, if that makes sense. It was more just like an
hmm
opportunity that popped up like locally. It's not like, we went a state away to go buy these and we like went and chased them down.
Sure.
It was just like shops that we were already going to, we saw come up as an opportunity, and we're like, hey, we can do this. And we were definitely like, we want to do another venue, but we're like, where? And like, we would basically, it's a $3 million building, 2.5, whatever, versus like, three times as less for like the shops kind of thing. It's just like,
Sure.
we felt like we were not doubling down with the coffee shops, where like if we did a venue, we'd basically be doubling down, like risking the first venue, if that makes sense. Not that we don't want to, we're looking at it.
Oh, because you'd have to collateralize the loan effectively with that venue.
Basically, it's like if that second venue failed, it basically would knock out both venues, likely. If that makes sense.
Did you not have to collateralize this new SBA loan with the
I
venue?
mean, we're
Or
like,
was that totally
guaranteeing like both, but we could probably make it work with one of the,
Yeah.
as long as the venue's going well.
How did you buy it doing $1 million a year, and then a year later you're doing $2 million a year?
Yeah, it was on. We've only owned it for like a year and change or so. It was on pace for
Sure.
like 1.2, 1.3 or so, and now we added a whole nother shop though too. So that's like the biggest jump. But I think year over year, like when last August and September, October, we're up like 30 to 40% in some of those months, like year over year, like same shop sales.
How did you grow? Did you add more?
We went in, like,
Revenue
remodeled
streams?
a lot of the shops ourselves. We changed the name, so changed all the branding. We partnered with like a lot of like local vendors for like pastries, our milk provider, and we promoted that, like local supporting local kind of thing. We did raise prices, so it has like a little bit to do with it, but we redesigned like the whole food menu.
Dude, you're blowing my mind.
Like we had to go through
You're blowing my mind.
every single like line of the business and try to like correct and make it better.
The way I look at it is like, wedding venues. So going into the next wedding venue would be that much easier. You know where the problems are going to arise. Buying coffee shops, it might be similar, but it's different. And so there's going to be things that you don't know. There are, known knowns or known unknowns, and there's unknown unknowns. But so there's going to be stuff that you just like don't even know to think about. So it's like you're like in the learning curve again. So to me, it feels riskier to do the coffee shops because they're new versus doing the wedding venue. I don't know how, I just don't know how you like got in your brain where you're like, yeah, this is the swing. Are you stoked you did it? Or are you like, do you look back at all and like, man, maybe I shouldn't have done that? Or how do you feel?
It goes in waves. I mean, I 100% know what you're saying. And like looking back, it's more clear. Like in that sense, in my head, in our head, we didn't see another venue opportunity on the horizon anytime soon.
But maybe there's something in the core business that is the same. Where you're like, okay, I get that it looks different, but the core differentiator of the wedding venue and the core differentiator of coffee shops is actually the same thing that I'm really good at. That could be the case. Maybe you're just focused on experience and you're like, it's got to have a high class experience. And so I don't know, maybe there's something there.
Yeah, no, that was like 1,000% like the idea. And kind of like, we're like, these are already like, existing. Like we didn't start them from the ground up. They're like full like shops running. They have people in place. Like they have all the vendors lined up, yada, yada, yada. We thought we could come in, and kind of just like put our touch on it. Like we could better branding, better, make the insides cooler, better experience. Like you're saying, like that's what, exactly. It was like our thinking. It's like we come in, they're doing fine. Like we make them better and they'd be doing, super well. This is like a project we can work on kind of thing, not like which business is better than the other. But in reality, like if we were just maybe a hair more patient, just waited for more venue opportunities to pop up, probably easier.
Okay, so the coffee shop's $2 million top line, the wedding venue, a little bit over $1 million top line. How big is your wife's baby boutique business? Like you like mentioned that in passing. I don't even know what that is.
So she does have a storefront, but the idea is always to kind of grow online. But we want to do like a storefront, try to get more locals involved. She didn't want to be like another person trying to sell stuff on Facebook, essentially, like to family and friends. So she wanted to like make it legit. That's like a year in or so, 100, 150K top line, nothing crazy. We're just really getting going like online. she's gotten like licenses from like the University of Iowa and like the University of like Iowa State. So now we can do like collegiate like children's wear essentially. So that's like we've had like a couple moments where her first like Iowa piece were like these Iowa like pajamas basically, and like from one TikTok post, 350 pieces sold out like overnight, like 12K in revenue, like not that crazy, but it was like we thought that was going to take us a year to sell through, and like just sold out like in a weekend. And like that was like the hard part is now it takes like many more months to get that back in stock, and you kind of like lose that momentum. So now it's like finding that momentum again, getting more designs going, sort of thing. But
let me recap this. So in the last 4 years, you've gotten married, had how many children?
2
children. You launched the wedding venue. You bought 5 coffee shops. Your wife has launched a baby boutique. What's next? Are you having another kid and buying 7 more businesses in the next 6 months? Like what? It's a pretty wild ride, man.
Maybe. We're working on a 3-unit deal for the coffee shops. We'll see if we can get those to go through. So we could have 8 by the end of the year, shortly thereafter the year. And then I've got a venue brought to me like off market. They're only showing it to like us, and it's like I signed an NDA, so I can't really say, but basically a competitor. And yeah, that would be a huge win for us and could actually lead to one more.
Sweet.
So yeah, could be 2-3 venues in the next year or so if we get crazy.
Okay, let's say somebody is listening to this and they're like, I want to do a wedding venue in my market. I want to get in the game. What are the best pieces of advice that you would give to somebody who's getting started? What is the best way to start in their market?
Really good question. Tough question. I get this all the time. I still haven't probably found the perfect answer because it's like chicken before the egg kind of thing. Sometimes some people like want to know like they can get the financing and get it done and all this. And it's just like, you can go to a bank, like have your business loan, have everything on paper, but they're going to be like, okay, what's the land that you're buying? Where's the land? Do you have land under contract? Do you own land? Are you doing this sort of thing? And then I get a lot of that. Like they want it in their area, but they don't know where. It's like, okay, like you can do all this stuff like high level, but you need to like actually pin down like a piece of land. How much is that going to cost? How much is it actually going to cost to build it all? And then the flip side is like people have land and then they want to build on that land. And yeah, that's like the easier start, of course, because you don't have to get the land and build at the same time. But for some reason, I feel like those people just aren't ever as serious. So it's just like what do I do with this land kind of thing sometimes.
Sure.
So best advice, if you really, really want to do it and are serious about it, force yourself to spend money on the idea. Kind of like what we did. Like I said, we paid someone that made us get serious. Like we're not going to lose this $5,000, like because it just fizzles out kind of thing. It's a really long process. It's hard. It's probably going to cost a shit ton of money, probably way more than you think. Everyone always thinks like you can throw up this like shop looking building and it's only going to be X. It's way more than you think.
This is my opinion. You tell me if I'm wrong. I think if I was starting out, I would focus on finding out the demand. What does demand look like in this market first?
Right.
Before I decide to spend some money on the idea or look at land or put together a business plan, it's like, are people having weddings here? Which, if they're having weddings in the middle of Iowa where you are, the answer is yes, they're having weddings where you are. But how would you test demand? Like, how would you even go and get a proxy for what demand looks like in a particular market?
So yeah, obviously that's like the first step that you should look into it, especially now, like we're 5 years later, and so it's like, it wasn't a new idea then, like that new of an idea. It's really not like a new idea now. But yeah, the easiest thing is like look for how many venues are in your area, like what's your population, whether big city or greater city, and then like how many venues are there, and then go to their calendars, reach out to them and try to figure out how booked are they? Are they booking a year out? Are they booking 2 years out? Are they a year and a half? That's your easiest indicator. And like, what are they charging? Can you find out, did they raise prices like recently? It's kind of like a sign of demand that, that they can raise prices. Have they had the same price for like 10 years?
What would be some signs to you that, there's demand, this market's a good market for a wedding venue?
My biggest things that I always look for, especially in like bigger cities and areas, a lot of people are still going to like hotels and things like that. So you look for not like all the venues, not all the places that people can get married, like these Airbnbs or hotels, like all these, like, look for true like standalone venues. Like this place was like built for a venue or like reconverted as like a wedding venue. Like they do like Maybe they do other events, but like 90% weddings, like it's has the suites, has the suites, has like an area for a ceremony, has a space for reception, a cocktail hour, like the whole shebang, and see how many of those there are. What I found, like looking across like the country, is like a lot of places still don't have a ton of standalone venues. But if you go to like Texas, there's a crazy amount of venues actually. Like they have like the most venues I've ever seen. There was like certain pockets for like, even like I'm in like Iowa City, Cedar Rapids area in Iowa, Des Moines, like where the capital is, that's like a bigger area. There's more venues in my area for whatever reason than there is like in the Des Moines area, like standalone venues. I'm not sure why. We've thought about looking out there too. I haven't found the right piece of property, but yeah, that's like where I would start.
Okay.
And then
standalone.
Yeah, standalone.
And then you start doing that other research. How booked out are they?
Yeah.
What are their prices?
Yeah.
It's from a like, how booked out are they? If someone's like, oh, we're 6 months booked out, or someone's like, oh, this venue, 3 years on average. Like, is there a number where you're like, oh, there's demand?
Yeah. I like 2 years plus would be like a lot. And that's like Friday, Saturdays, like every Friday, Saturday, and that's another thing to look at too, is like to really make it work, we're doing Friday, Saturday, Sundays when we're talking 70, 80 weddings a year. If they're doing like a whole weekend package, like they're a venue and they're giving the couple like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for like one price, like they're probably not cranking out that many weddings, which memes there's probably not a huge demand. People don't necessarily want to get married on a Friday. It's the only date left. And they don't want to wait 2 years. So, you talk yourself into it essentially. It's like, it's a little bit cheaper. We can get married next year versus, it's like that's the combos they have. And that's why they choose Fridays or even Sundays. So you gotta be looking at those things.
So when you said spend money, what would you spend money on? Like what's the best dollars spent early on?
Probably talking to someone that's done it before.
A consultant.
Yes. Do some sort of consulting. And hopefully they're truthful and honest of like the downsides, and like make sure like you really want to do it before you go spend $100K, this sort of thing. And then I would probably start talking, you got to look for land. If you got to put earnest money down to get that under contract or something, that's probably next thing. And then start talking like with like some sort of GC or builder. There's like a lot of like design build firms out there that they'll start doing renderings and working on a floor plan and giving cost stuff for like $5,000, $10,000, before you get like to like where you need like stamped plans that are going to be like $100,000. So you can get that like those early phases like out of the way, go spend 10, 20 grand to see if it's real versus, signing up for 100K.
All right, Alex, this has been awesome. Tell the people where to find you.
Mostly Twitter.
What's the name of your venue?
The Midnight Gem. It's in Iowa. Yeah. You can find us there. Midnight Coffee is the
coffee shops
brand.
There we
Midnight
go.
Coffee. Little Gems is my wife's baby brand. And yeah, you can wedding venue guy on Twitter. I don't tweet as much as of late, but you can DM me.
All right. Hopefully you liked that episode. And if you've made it this far, you're either really committed or you're stuck doing yard work and you can't actually skip on your phone. So while I have you, the show is growing, but I have a favor to ask of you. Will you please help me grow the show? I want to reach more people. There's a couple things that you can do. Like and subscribe is the simplest thing. Obviously, you want to get notifications for when the next episode is coming out. But if you go the next step, will you leave me a review? 5-star on Spotify or Apple. What that does is it tells the algorithm that, oh, hey, this is a high value podcast because more people are leaving reviews for it, and it then pushes it out to more people. So that's why when people are like, will you like and subscribe and put a 5-star rating? It's not just to make themselves feel better. It's actually to get more exposure for the show. So if you do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you next time.